So in this video, I'll teach you what are arrays, and in JavaScript, I'll teach you everything about arrays, why do you need arrays, how do you declare and initialize the array, and also what are the different methods which you can use in arrays such as push, pop, shift and unshift method. All these methods are really useful and it helps you to code really in an efficient way and make a lot of things easier. So what are arrays? So basically the first part is basically arrays are just a data structure. They are a data structure which holds same type of value. For example, if you want to store all the names of students in a class, right? All the students, let's say in your class, and you want to store their names, you can use it inside an array, and you can store as number of names you want. And let's say you want to store their phone numbers, you can also store that inside a array which will store all the phone numbers. You can also store, basically you can store any kind of data. It just should be a same type of data, like it can be of type numbers, it can be of type string, it can also be of type boolean. You can store any kind of values in array. Why do we really need it? As I said, if you want to store a large amount of data, you can use arrays. They are really good in terms of memory location, time complexity, space complexity. And also, if I give you example, like in your phone, right, you have a lot of phone numbers, so you can use the array there. And if you want to delete a phone number, you can use one of array method to delete it, or if you want to add a new phone number, you can use arrays another method to add it. And so many other things which array gives us, which we'll learn slowly. So I'll teach you how to declare array. So we'll go with the example of your colleagues, so your students, or students in the class, right? So I'll say a array called students, and I will say that right now there are no students in the class, so it's an empty array and I want to log it. So console.log, you get it in the browser, the value. So if I say students, if I console.log students, you will see that I get an empty array. So if I expand this, you'll see that the length of it is 0. Why? Because there's nothing inside this array. Now, oh, by the way, that's how you initialize the array, with brackets, and that's how you declare it, 1 equals and like this. And now let's say you want to write some name of the students, like John and Neymar, CR7. So you can write it like this. Now you see we have got 3 items in the array, which you can see here we added, and then you can see that we have got the names as well. But when you expand it, you can see that all of the value, right, they have a index on it. This is the index, it's they are referenced by index. It's called 0, the first one. And if you notice, it doesn't start with 1. Usually everything starts with 1, right? First, second and third. But the arrays, they start with 0. So you can see John has an index of 0, Neymar has an index of 1, and CR7 has an index of 2. So one thing to keep in mind is array starts with 0 and not 1. So if you want to access, let's say, CR7, how would you access it? You will just write console.log students. So you always write the array name, then you write whichever you want to access. So here you want to access 0, 1 and second index, element on second index. So you write this, and you can see that CR7 comes up here because we are printing it. Now if you want to access the first element, John would come up here. And if you want to access the first one, you will see Neymar would come up here. That's a good way. But let's say you always want to access element, last element of the array, right? But without writing the index number, like hard-coded index number. So dynamically, how would you write it? So you know the students, and I told you there is a, so another thing. So array come with a property called length. So when you write students and just write dot, you will see it's a property called length. If you write length here, then you will see that you get the 3 here. Why did you get 3? Because there are 3 items. So it means then you can always get to know the length of the array using this method called students.length. So if I do students.length, and then if I do -1, then you will see that I get 2 here. So this 2 is my last array, last index of the item, right? 0, 1, 2. That will always be the case. So if I want to get index of the last item, I can always get it using students.length -1. So if I add one more item here called Suarez, and then if I want to get it, you will see that 0, 1, 2 and then 3 I can get it. So that's a good way. And now let's say I want to print this name. How would I do it? So then what I'll do, I'll say that go to the students array and then go to students dot length and -1. So it will print me Suarez. So that's cool, isn't it? So you can always get the end array using this thing. So what we did, what's going on here is basically it's going on like this. We are getting students array and then we are printing length -1 would be 4 -1 is 3. So this is what's getting printed here. So 0, 1, 2 and 3 you get it. I hope you got it. And now you must have a question that, okay, you cannot always just go and write name in the initial array. What if you want to write it directly? So basically, which is called is how to add to an array, right? If you want to add an item, how do you add it? So array comes with a property called students.push. It's an array.push property. So push means you want to push something. You can see it appends new element to the end of an array and returns the new length of the array. So what do you mean? So what it will do, it will append it. Append means it will keep the original array and it will push something at the end. So let's say you want to push my name, which is Abhi. If I want to push that name here, I'll just do this and then I will print the array. So this array will contain this name, which is my name, inside this. So if I print this array here, you will see this time we have got 5 items and my name is the 5th item here. You can see the index. That's cool, right? So if you want to push an item, you can push an item. Let's say you want to push another item, so you can again do students.push and you can write anything like something and then you see you have got the item. So that's how you push item. Now you will say that, okay, that's cool, I want to push something in the front of the array. How do I do that? Okay, so for that JavaScript gives us a method called students.unshift. So if you unshift, it will always insert new element at the start of an array. So this will insert it in the beginning. So I will say the name something called geo and then you will see that this is added in the beginning. That's cool, right? So that's how you can add array to the beginning, any item to the beginning. Okay, that's cool. What about removing item? Let's say you want to remove this item, you don't want it anymore in your list. So how do you do that? So you write students and then you can use pop method. So if you see this method, it removes the last element from an array and returns it. That's it. So you don't have to mention which one you want to remove. You just say students.pop and by default it will remove the last one. You see here there is no Suarez here because it's been removed. And you can say that, yeah, I want to remove the first element. How do I do that? So for that also you have a method called students.shift. So if you do that, you will see that the first item is gone. So don't get confused between the shift and unshift method. Just keep remember that push, you can push, and unshift means you are just unshifting it from here to here and pushing something here. And shift and pop to remove. Pop removes the last and shift remove the first. I hope you got it. That's pretty much basic about the array. This is a one-dimensional array. Most of the time you will use this if in your job or wherever you are trying to use arrays. Now we will get into a later stage. So later stage is, let's say you want to print all of these names, right? So what you will do, you will write console.log and then you will write that this students array. Come on, I'll just copy it. So you will write students at 0 and then you want to print all of the names. So you will do this. So you will do 0, 1, 2 and then 3 and you have got basically all the names John numbers here. But this is really bad practice, right? You don't want to go and print everything like this. That's really bad. And if you imagine you had 100 names, would you print 100 times? No. So for that, in JavaScript we have a loop called for loop. So what do you mean by for loop? So for loop is basically, it's a method, it's a for loop, right? So what it does, it goes towards all the index of the array, right? This is the array and it will go from all of it, top of all of it. It will go towards this and finish it at the end. So according to that, you will get access to all of them. So how do we use it? So that's how we declare a for loop. So you write for, because it's a for loop, you write the brackets. Now you want to keep track of the number. So you want to start, as I said, array starts from 0. So you want something to start from 0. So you'll say I. What is I? I is just a tracking variable. You can set it at I, j, k, whatever you want. For easy, just to seem it easy, I'll say it as I. And what is I? I is a variable, and you declare it using let. So I'll say for let I equals to 0. In the beginning I want it as 0, and you write the semicolon, and then you want that I should always be less than. I don't want it to be go on, like, I want it to stop somewhere. So I would say I should be less than students, because I want to go towards this array, right? So I'll say I should always be less than students, and then dot length. So we know the length of this array is 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Length. So because there are 4 items, so I don't want it to exceed 4 items. So I'll say always be less than 4. So when it's 0, 1, 2, and 3, so it will never go to the 4th item, which never exists, right? And then I want it to increase by 1 every time, because this is a loop. So, and then you write curly brackets, and inside this curly brackets, this is where your logic goes. So logic is whatever you want to do with this I of students, like this, you can do whatever you want. So what happens when this bit of code runs? Your I is 0, and student.length is 0, 1, 2, 3. Like length is 4, right? So this is 4, this is 0, and I'll show you just for the simplicity what is this. Is 0 now, this is 4, and this is 0. This is not increased now. So what happens when this bit of code runs? What we want to do is we want to print, I'll say we have to print students at I. So yeah, so what will happen? Student at I. So right now I is 0, and this is less than 4, and I plus plus. So I will be 0. Then it will go and find students at index of 0. So students at index of 0 is John. So it will go and print that John. So if I do console.log and put this students at I here, what it will do, it will print this. You will see here now, John, Neymar, CR7, and Suarez. So it's cool, right? You can print hundreds, thousands, millions of the names in just this bit of line. So if you had, let's say, thousands of names, you could just write this bit and it would still print all of it. So how it's working? So I'll tell you. So in the beginning I was 0, the length was 4, and it was 0, and it printed John. Then what happened? It again went up this time. So what this does, so when it was 0, it said that once you leave me, increase the I by 1. I plus plus means I equals I plus 1. So this became 1. So if this became 1, this also became 1. Then this time it said, oh, I equals 0. Is it less than 4? Yes, it is. So if it's true, then go inside this block. So it said, okay, print I at 1. So I at 1 is Neymar, it printed it. Then next time it went, I also increased, right? After this step, I increases. So I increase. I was 2 now. So this also became 2. And then it said, okay, what? I is 2. Okay, I is 2 is CR7. Okay. Then it said, okay, is 2 is less than 4? Yeah, it is. Then it's like, okay. Then go in on print item at 0, item at 2. So it's CR7, it printed CR7. Then it went and also increased the I now, right? So I went 3. This also went 3. Then this time it said, okay, what is item at 3? So 0, 1, 2, and 3 Suarez. It said, okay, 3, cool. So it said, okay, is 3 less than 4? It said, yeah, it's true. Then okay, then you print this and also increase me by 1. So it increased by 4, by 1. So I became 4. And right now we have all of this printed, right? Then this time I equals 4. Then it said, okay, is I less than 4? So what is I? 4. So is 4 less than 4? No. 4 is equals to 4, right? So this condition is false now. As soon as this condition is false, it goes out of this loop. So the loop breaks here. And as soon as the loop breaks, you get all of your names printed. So that's how a for loop works. And yeah, you can print whatever names you want. You can always, now you don't have to do any changes, you can just write whatever names you want, like, you can just keep writing and it will keep printing all of it. So yeah, pretty much that's how it works. That's the for loop. Now let's say you have something called another method, so it's a for each method. If you don't want to use for loop, there is another method called for each. So you can say students dot for each. This is a new ES6 method which you can use, and what it does, it says, okay, I want to take the I element, and this is a syntax called arrow function, right? What it does, you just write this and then open the bracket. Inside the bracket you can write the logic. So this time what will happen, it will again go through all the students array, right, index, and it will say that console.log just print me I. So do you see what it did? You got all of it again and you don't have to write anything this time. So that's cool, right? So you can also use for each loop. So for each loop you can use for loop. I use generally for loop because I understand it really easy and I find it easy to use. You can also use for each. This is also a good loop to use. So yeah, that's how you go over any kind of list using for loop and for each method, and arrays are pretty much really good to use it. Yeah, that's it for today's video. If you like my way of teaching and if you understood arrays from watching these videos, please subscribe to my channel and like this video and share it to your friends.